Hold on, we're going to do one at a time so that I can answer that question. We'll go to the next question after that, okay? All right, because it's a big question you're asking, okay? If I heard you correctly, please just confirm. You want to know how foreign policy issues, the United States foreign policy, impacts my job.
Yes, sir.
That's basically what
Yes,
you're
sir.
asking. Clearly, no matter where in the world I go, many people are interested in talking about foreign policy, about their impressions on our particular policies in a wide range of ways. Foreign policy is not just our particular relationship with a country, the bilateral piece. It's not particularly because we are involved in a military exercise in one part of the world or another. It's also humanitarian and economic aid. It is also the way in which we think about a wide range of things. So foreign policy is very multifaceted, and I get questions across the board on sometimes very prickly issues, sometimes on not. Some people want to know about our thoughts on human rights and what we're doing more with the UN on human rights. Some people ask me a lot about our issues with how the United States are thinking about issues of the environment, or how we give economic and humanitarian aid. How do we do that? I always get questions about Israel-Palestine. How is the progress going? What has the president said? I get a lot of questions on Iraq. I get a lot of questions on Afghanistan. I get a lot of questions on Pakistan. I get a lot of questions on Somalia. I get a lot of questions on issues that are happening around the world. I think one of the things that is quite remarkable about our country, and many places have commented on this, we are a nation in which we consistently have people every day speaking about these issues at the press briefings that happen every single day. So there is an open exchange of where we are and what we're thinking. Things are absolutely transparent in the way in which we talk about things, and whether it's the spokesman at the White House or it's the spokesman at the State Department, you're hearing that interchange, and you hear ambassadors who are also talking about things. Young people specifically, are very invested in foreign policy. They're very interested in the United States point of view. I will say a gigantic challenge is a misperception that we have a lot. We have a lot of young voices that ask me questions about foreign policy and suggest that issues that we are engaged in, or things that are taking place, is somehow in a framework of the United States versus Islam, when in fact the President of the United States has been very clear: we are not at war with Islam. We never have been, we never will be. We are not at war with Islam. The President has talked about his respect for the religion of Islam. The President, in fact, if you look back at American history, and you look at what our presidents of the United States, starting with the Founding Fathers, how they have spoken about the importance of all religions and giving respect and dignity to all religions, how they've talked about freedom of faith. In fact, in our country, you are more free to practice your faith than any other country in the world. Okay? So the way in which we have to talk about these issues, we may be engaged in something in a part of the world in which there is a Muslim majority. It has nothing to do with the religion of Islam. Okay, that's the first point. You're correct, sir, when you say, are people asking questions? Of course they are. It's very important, but I feel very strongly, and I can say this to you because I have been, I've been in this job for long enough, and in the work that I've done before that, I know for sure that you can do two things at the same time. You can work on very challenging foreign policy issues, whether it is Middle East peace, whether it is fighting against Al-Qaeda and its affiliates, whether it is working on any other foreign policy challenge. You can do that at the same time that you are, in fact, investing in education, that you are investing in science and technology, you're investing on young people, you're investing on tools that allow people to live up to their God-given potential. And while many people may or may not like a particular foreign policy of the United States government, many of the young people that I talk to will in fact say, I don't like your position on X, Y, or Z, but we are in fact very interested in working with you on this, this, and this. So it has been a very interesting, you said yourself, I've been to many countries around the world. It's a consistent thing that I get asked about foreign policy. There's not a country in the world that I've gone to that nobody asks about foreign policy. Everybody does. But they're also keenly aware this generation is keenly aware of the tipping point in the demographics, and that they have a potential to do more than any other generation before them to make a difference on some very serious issues. And what I absolutely know is that if we do not engage with this young generation and how they are thinking about how are you going to work on the issues of women's empowerment, how are you going to work on the issues of education, or how are you going to move into a sphere where we do as much as we can to energize innovators and change makers and entrepreneurs. They are really interested in all of that, and they want to see ways in which we can partner with the United States and with others. So this connection of building connectivity with others around the world by illustrating the issues that they put on the table is very important to how we think about things. So it is not just the U.S. Department of State. It is not just the U.S. Department of Commerce, but it's every department, every agency finding ways that we can do the best job that we can to use all the tools to engage and build opportunities to work together. Now, at the Department of State, where I work, the Secretary of State, Secretary Clinton, has asked me to work with our embassies around the world. So I have a global mandate. Muslims in Muslim majority countries and Muslims that are living as minorities. And it's very important that I highlight that, because for us, the importance of the diversity of Muslims around the world is critically important. That a Muslim voice in Solo, Indonesia is as important to us as a Muslim voice in Stockholm, Sweden. Okay? So how we think about what's taking place with Muslims around the world is really shifted, and it's really global. Also, the Secretary, very importantly, asked me to work on a people-to-people level. So it is not, my work that I do with our embassies is grassroots, it's community-driven. So I meet with NGOs, I meet with civil society, I meet with entrepreneurs, I meet with educators, I meet with faith leaders, I meet with hip-hop artists, I meet with poets, I meet with everyone in between to have a sense of ways in which we can talk openly, think about things that we can work on together, and it's been remarkable to have that people-to-people engagement. Secretary Clinton has talked a lot about citizen diplomacy. The idea that the State Department must use as many vehicles as we can to build opportunities together, and that citizens matter. And she said this in many speeches, and you've heard her talk about it. But for me, my mandate is, in fact, people to people. Secondly, my mandate is specifically on those young people under the age of 30. Why? When we look at the demographics worldwide, most Muslims in the world are under the age of 30. There are approximately 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, 1/4 of humanity. If I'm saying to you that most Muslims are under the age of 30, that's a huge number. And it's important for us as the United States to think about long-term partnerships and how we're building comprehensive dialogue, comprehensive partnership, listening, opening up channels for engagement that start at the very beginning so that we can harness and leverage the potential of these young people who, as we all know, there is a youth quake that is happening around the world. Let's say it again. There is a youth quake that's happening around the world. The young voices matter to us. We want to hear what they have to say. We want to get their insights. We want to figure out ways that we can work together. So, as I said, it's people-to-people engagement. It is global. It is under the age of 30. It is doing as much as we can as the United States government to bring voices together, to build networks, to open up new ways to partner on common interests, and to find new ways to work on issues together. So that's the job that I have been asked to do in partnership with our ambassadors and our embassies, obviously, all over the world, and in partnership with all parts of the U.S. Department of State that are working on this mandate together. So it has been a remarkable journey for me in the last couple of years. I have been to nearly 50 countries around the world in the last 24 months. Nearly 50, I think it's 49. And I have talked to thousands and thousands and thousands of young kids.
All Muslim countries.
I meet with Muslims all over the world, Muslims in Muslim majority countries, and Muslims that live as minorities.
Have you been to Thailand?
what is
Thailand,
it?
Thailand.
I have.
Because Thailand.
Before we start.
Okay,
Yeah, so-
Anusha.
Yes.
Yeah, so let me just, I'll end by saying to you, I'm going to answer all your questions, but the one thing I really want you to understand is the vision of the president and the vision of Secretary Clinton is profoundly different than any other time in history. And the things that the United States government are doing now in such a comprehensive way, with such a powerful perspective, is unprecedented and has been a really great opportunity for us to leverage possibilities. And we are very keen on doing what the president outlined in Cairo, but also to push back against the narratives that suggest that there is an us and a them. As President Obama said, there is no us and them, there is just an us. And in fact, we've done a lot of work in looking at the history of American presidents, Islam, and diplomacy, to see how presidents have talked about this. And the theme has been absolutely consistent. And as I said to the gentleman earlier, whether you're talking about the founding fathers or you're talking about more modern presidents, whether you're talking about Ford or Carter or Eisenhower or Nixon, whether you're talking about Clinton or Bush 1 or George W. Bush or President Obama, the consistency across party lines about the respect for Islam and the importance of the diversity of religions in America has been clear. And that is something that we have to understand. What is our nation and what are we about? It is as important for us to talk about that in the way in which we as Americans think about and value diversity in our country, and we do.
So